Okay.
What is the question to Menora today?
Okay. Who is this personality, Putin? What is happening that the dark forces, China and the government of China and Russia and Iran are getting so close together? I understand the connection between Russia and Syria. They are like father and son, because in Hebrew, if you see Russia and you see Syria, you see the letters in both names, they're the exact name if you change the letters around. So this is the connection between Syria and Russia. But what are the other dark forces getting so close together at this time?
Thank you. Dear group, dear Danny, this issue of darkness, of evil, has been raised even by myself when I was channeling, and by Danny channeling me several times. First of all, you should know what I've been telling you many a times. In most cases, I would say in all cases, it's not the country, it's not the people, it's the leaders. The leaders come from a traditional leadership of great ego, of great wealth, of great prosperity for the leader families or for the leaders themselves. No matter if the leader came from a royal family or worked his way up from nothing. Looked into the history, all wars, all cruelty, all violence between nations mainly did not come from the people, but from the leaders. All the people want in all those countries that you mentioned is peace, family, money to survive, to live, and happiness. So what happens to the country leaders? The Western world is a democracy, and these democracies go through the violence on the personal, the family level. On the national level, the leaders change, the leaders are elected better, not for better, for worse, but the system works in those countries that you mentioned and many others. It's totally different. So these country leaders, starting with Russia, Putin, not starting a year ago when he came in, or 6 months ago, when he started the war, long before. Look at the history of Russia. Put that together with China, which on the surface is with its intentions to the West in technology, in everything, but look inside. North Korea, Iran, of course, and several other countries in Africa, South America, who are dictatorships, who have no ability or intention of conquering the world, but their people are suffering in the same way, maybe more. Because if Russia and Iran, if their focus is going out, The people there are suffering, but we would say, seeing their energy, they are suffering, but they're okay. In those African countries with the dictatorships, the energy of the leaders for evil goes inwards. So they are rich, powerful, and the people are struggling, battling, and not surviving. So these are the two kinds of evil. Every good has the bad as the yin and the yang. There is no light without dark. There can be darkness, but in order for the light to shine, it must shine through darkness. In heaven and in the spiritual world, there are positive forces, but negative forces as well. The light represents the positive, and the darkness represents the evil, which is presented, as you know, by the Satan. You should see it in all the historical books, even in the Bible, and everywhere. So there cannot be good without bad, aside to it. Humanity has a great karma since the evolution of humanity on Mother Earth. And each country has a karma. Karma meaning it has to go through certain processes in order to balance itself, looking at its soul from the history of the soul. And that's why these leaders just go into sort of a tunnel that leads them with the soul of the nation to be so evil and powerful. I mean, you ask yourselves, what's wrong with Putin staying in his country, flourishing, being more tough or less tough with his people, but the country happy, coping with the cold weather in winter, selling its oil and gas, developing technology. Look at Iran. Why does Iran have to go out and to everywhere with this terror, aiming to wipe out Israel, to go against America, to be all over the world? Why can't Iranians be in Iran by itself? Live their lives, do their prayers and their Islamic rituals. And here comes in the ego and the drive and the temptations of the leaders. They have to do something. And if you really ask them and really look at their hearts, there is no real reason. A lot of this doing is to show the people, I am strong, I am this, I am that, I'll show you the way. Look at Hamas in Gaza. Look at Hezbollah in Lebanon. As I told my son Danny several times, what is their goal in life? To eliminate Israel? So let's say there's no Israel. What will they do? Will they start growing, start technology, live in peace? They cannot, because they're in the funnel of evil. And the same thing with all terrorist organizations. They want to liberate Israel. So let's say they succeed. What will they do then? They haven't got a goal of peace after the goal of war. And they know they cannot do it, so they carry on because it's good for their ego. Just imagine that tomorrow A new leader comes to Hezbollah who really wants peace, destroys all the missiles. Will he live more than one day? So you asked, my dear daughter, about the big nations, not about these small organizations. But this is the answer. And Putin has been blown, you could say, into this funnel of evil and ego. Look at his life. Do you know what his life looks like? How rich he is? Maybe the richest man in the world. And look at his people. How cruel. Look at the history at Hitler. Why was Hitler not assassinated several times when they were trying to do it? Because that's his karma. That was his, you can call faith. To change the world, the future of the world through cruelty, war, with crazy ego. So sometimes people like this are needed in order to bring a change to humanity. Second World War, with all the sorrow and the losses and the death and the blood and the destruction, after all, it brought a new world. America wouldn't be where it is. European countries wouldn't have been where it is if they did not have to pull themselves together to the industry of war. We cannot tell you about the future, but what's going on with these evil countries eventually will bring balance and peace. I'm getting back to the countries you mentioned: Russia, Iran, China, North Korea, and I added these dictatorships, Africa, South America, all over. Eventually, you will reach the peace. And look at the message from last time. Our Mother Earth is infected so badly by this behavior of violence and war between nations led by these leaders. So Mother Earth will take its part. And when Mother Earth will come to a stage where it has to, let's call it in a strong term, shake. This will be one of the solutions for peace. When all nations are standing more one big catastrophe, they get together. Just look what happened with the COVID-19. Countries didn't make peace, but this was the first time in the new era where humanity, country after country, had to stand more the same challenge. And countries got together, moved knowledge one to another. And this crisis was a small test for humanity before what you will not want to know of the bigger crisis in humanity coming from Mother Earth shaking. I cannot tell you when, where, but this is the situation. It is very sad and bothering for the population on Mother Earth at this time. But in heaven, we always look forward to the future. Future can be 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years. The time has no meaning here. We just look ahead. What is the destiny or the karmatic issue of Mother Earth? So I hope this knowledge, this wisdom, cleared a bit this issue. Carry on with your work. That's the main thing you have to do, individually and in the group. And as I said many a times, if many groups like yours would do the work, everything will start changing. There's these evil leaders, countries, Mother Earth, leading to a better world, a better quality of life. I love you all and bless you. Thank you. Thank you, Menora.